Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GL365.com. Have a classic for you today. We're going to learn how to play Don't Let Me Down by the Beatles. So there's pretty much two distinct guitar parts going on at all times here. So John Lennon's, George Harrison's. So I'm basically pretty much going to show you John Lennon's part first, and then followed it with George Harrison's section, a part of it. So for each part, we're going to do that. Just kind of go back and forth between John and George. All right, so we're in standard tuning here, so nothing that overly complex there. I will say that the live video of them playing this, the kind of Apple rooftop performance, there's a lot of overdubbing on that. So what you see in the video is not exactly what you're going to be hearing. So they kind of, kind of spice that up a bit after the fact. But especially with a lot of George Harrison's fills. When we really want to get those fills exactly like the recording, it might not look exactly like he's doing it on that live performance. So let's start here with this intro where we just kind of have an E chord hit. So you can just have that, John Lennon playing that, and George Harrison up here kind of hitting an E chord like this. So we have an open E major chord with John Lennon. And then up here, we have Harrison doing this. So that right there is he plays this E chord like this a lot throughout the song. 9th fret on the D and the G. So we're going to, and then you're going to have the 11th fret there on the A string. And then you can have the low E in there if you want. Or you can just play those 3 notes. And then he has this fill that's played many times throughout the song during the chorus. So what's going on there? Very Hendrix influenced here. We have a hammer on. You're going to play 9 on the A and the D string. And when you do that, you're going to hammer on the 11th fret on the A. Then you're going to go over and play the 9 on the D and the G together. So like this. And then we're going to do what we did down on the D and the A. We're going to just do it here at the G and the D. So we're going to pick the D and the G together at the 9th fret and hammer on that 11th fret there, this time on the D. So like this. Then we're going to go back to those 2 9s on the D and the G. So real slow what we have so far. All right, now we're going to go back down to doing the bar on the A and the D string at the 9th fret. So you play that, like those 2 again. Then you're going to go up and grab and the 12th fret there on the A string. And then you can just end it with the 11th fret there on the A string with the 9th fret still being held there on the D. So with this. So we have this all together. Now that last chord, if you want that low E in there, that sounds fine too. And then, so you're going to see that lick a lot at the end of each time around in the chorus. So then we have the verse that we have, John Lennon's section was what I played at the beginning of the video. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. All right, so that's going to start with just a regular F sharp minor chord. So that's a full bar at the 2nd fret with the 4th fret of the A and the 4th fret of the D. So he strums that, and then he moves it into an F sharp minor 7th chord. So you're going to do that by just picking up the pinky there. So it goes down to the 2nd fret there on the D. It's already part of that bar, so you don't have to do anything. And then down to that E major chord. And then real quick, he's going to do a little alteration. He's going to make it an E sus4 chord. So he does that by just placing his pinky there at the 2nd fret of the G string. Up to the 2nd fret there on the G, and then back to the normal E chord. So we have this, don't let me down. Then the F sharp minors. So it's like F sharp minor to F sharp minor 7. Then, don't let me down, E chord. And that little, does that little sus4 move. And then repeat, don't let me down. Don't let me down. All right, now over that, we have, so that's basically the chorus, which just starts the song. We have George Harrison playing the chords up a little up higher where we were before when he did the fill. And his part looks like this. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. So he's basically doing that F sharp minor chord up here at the 9th fret. So you could do that as a bar at the 9th fret here across the high E to the A string. So it's the 9th fret there on the A all the way across. And then we have the 11th fret on the D, 11th fret on the G, 10th fret on the B, and then you have that high E string still being held with the full bar. So he does a lot more kind of sparse playing up there. He doesn't just strum it full on like Lennon did. So we just like, and then when we have the little transition, he goes to that, just picking up the pinky once again on this chord, he just makes it a minor 7. Now you can't really hear the minor 7th chord voicing too well in the original recording. They do it live, so well at least Lennon did. So it's good to add there because there is a little kind of a harmony change in there, but I think is being played mostly by Billy Preston on the electric piano, also known as the 5th Beatle. And then Paul McCartney doing that's really what's kind of creating that harmony that sounds like it's moving down to a different chord, but there's not really a chord change going on in the guitar there. So you can just keep holding the F sharp minor for what you want. Or you can take it, just pick up the pinky to make it a minor 7 there at the end. And then we get to that E chord that we talked about earlier with that same fill. Then repeat. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. So that second time I didn't make it in a minor 7th chord. So you can just really choose to do that if you want. It's not really a huge difference there. All right, now we have the actual verse of the song. So I'll get through that John Lennon's part first. So it looks like this. Nobody ever loved me like she does. Oh, she does. Yeah, she does. And if somebody loved me like she do, all right, so there's that cool little picking thing that happens at the end of the chord progression, which when you see them do that Apple Rooftop live performance, he doesn't do there. But it is on the recording. It might be just a little too intricate, and he didn't want to think about doing it live. So, but we're going to do it here because it sounds really, really cool. All right, so we're just going to start once again with that F sharp minor chord. And then switch it to that F sharp minor 7 just by picking up the pinky, and then to the E chord. So it's really the same chords there as a chorus, but here when we get to this E, we're gonna go. You basically hit it a couple times, and then. So that little pattern, why you still hold the E? So you really want that still ringing. So after he finishes singing, yes she does. It's a couple of hits after he finishes singing there, and then you go into that lick. And it's gonna basically pick the G string, and then you're gonna hammer on there the 2nd fret of the A string. And then you hit the open B, and then the high E string, then back down to the B, and back to the G string there, which is being held at the 2nd fret, and then just pick that up and pick the 1st fret there on the G string. So it is. So that's. So when you still let the chord ring, it sounds really cool. So that hammer on, and then back to the same chords. And if somebody loved me like she do, she do she do. So that's a really cool little part there. Now let's get to George Harrison's part here, where he has some very interesting fills that are obviously overdubbed on that recording. He's not really, what you're hearing is not what's going on. You can see him playing it. But the fills he does the first time you hear the verse are slightly different than the second time you hear it, all right? So let me just play, when he comes in with the fills, nobody ever loved me like she does. All right, so he switches to like a little finger-picked version. So I kind of just tuck my pick there with my middle finger there and just kind of hold it. And then he just kind of goes. Kind of picking 2 strings at a time most of the time. So we're gonna take here this 10th fret there on the B and the 14th fret on the high E string. So you're going to pick those together, and I'm just picking the bottom note with my thumb and the top note with my index finger. So I pick that and slide down to 12. And when you do that, you can replace. When I do that little move, I can then replace this note that I'm playing on the 10th fret on the B string, replace it with my middle finger, and just do a bar here at the 9th fret. So we have this. Now that allows us, from here, picking the 12th fret there on the B, 10th fret on the B, 12th fret on the high E string, pull off that 12 to 9. So we have this. And then pick that a couple times. So and then you're going to come over to play the 9th fret on the G. So you already have that with that bar, and the 10th fret there on the B's. On the 10th fret on the B string. And then you're going to move it up to the 11th fret on the G. But then pull off to that 9th fret while still hitting that 10th fret on the B with it. So with this. So all together so far. And then from the 9th fret on the G, just pick it, slide it down to 6, and then slide back up to 6 to 9. And then he goes into this kind of picking across this E major 7 chord. So we have this, just kind of randomly pick across these notes. It's the 9th fret on the D, 8th on the G, 9 on the B. And then you go back into the same fill again. And then this last time, instead of ending it with that E major 7, just end it with that same E chord that we did before. And there's a quick little fill. And that's just the 9th fret bar on the D and the G together, and hammering onto that 11th fret on the D, and then picking it, and just doing that a couple times. And then end it, and it goes back to the chorus from there. All right, so we have from there, after the, we go back and, out of the, we just did the verse and chorus. We go back through, and then we have this bridge section here that I'm in love for. So I'm going to go through that, just Lennon's part real quick, and then we'll check out the little moving little riff that George Harrison plays. So John Lennon's part looks like this. I'm in love for the first time. Don't you know it's gonna last? It's a love that lasts forever. It's a love that has no pain. It's a high vocal part. All right, so that's just the E major chord starting out. Then it goes to this B7 chord. So it's kind of the open position version of this B7. So there's a 2nd fret there on the A string, 1st fret on the D, 2nd fret on the G string, open B string, and then the 2nd fret there on the high E. So coming from that, I'm in love for the first time, just from that E major. Don't you know it's gonna last? So just kind of hold on this B7. It's the love that lasts forever. It's the love that has no past. Goes back to that E, and then once again, that little ending that we'd go from the E to the E+4 back to the E. All right, now George Harrison has this kind of moving lick that you can't really see him play where he's actually positioned. He's playing the notes in on the live performance. However, you can kind of get some clues of where he's doing it because there's a couple of slides in there that make it kind of sound like he's sliding down certain strings. So that's what I'm going for here, trying to emulate those slides. So you'll see it maybe jump up into some weird positions to do that. So this is what it looks like. All right, so that's going to start with this open E. And then you're going to play. So open E, and then play 7, 6 on the A string. And then play 7, 4. So this. And then play 7 on the A string again. Over to 7 on the low E. And then we're going to jump back here and play this E here on the D string. And you can just play this as the E on the D there, over to the this G sharp here on the low E string at the 4th fret. And then back to the E on the D string. And then probably the easiest way for most people would be just to play this 2nd fret there on the low E string with your thumb, and then back to that 2nd fret there on the D. So we have this. All right, now here's the section that I think how he's moving around. He's moving around with a lot of slides. There's an easier way you can just stay in one position and do it up here, but it sounds more like you can match the quality of the actual licks that he's playing. by doing it like this. So it basically does that twice. So it's the 2nd fret there on the 5th fret. I'm sorry, 2nd fret on the A string. And then we have the 4th fret on the D over to the 6th fret on the A. And then he goes to the 7th fret on the D string. The first time you hear it, it sounds like he kind of slightly slides into it. Over to the 9th fret on the A. That's what it is. And then here's where we have these slides. You know, and he goes, instead of doing, there's a slide there. So it sounds like he's going from the 6th fret, picking, and sliding down to the 2nd fret of the D. And then the next 2 notes also have, you know, instead of going like that, it sounds like he goes, slides into that. So he does that kind of for effect. So we had this right here, slides 6 down to 2 on the D, and then play the 4th fret and slide it down to 1. And then we have 2 on the D string. So with this. 2 on the D, over to 4 on the A, and then end it with the 1st fret there on the D string. Repeat. Then you hit the low E open and jump up here. So it's the same kind of fill that we did earlier that ends the chorus, that happens in the chorus. Now at the end, we have another bridge section, not a bridge section, another verse. And like I said, the fills are just a little bit different that George Harrison's doing. So it looks like this the second time around for the second verse. All right, so it starts the same that we did the fills before. Sorry. But right here, when he goes back to the 11th fret on the G string, he doesn't stay between on those 2 strings. He now adds the D string in there at the 11th fret along with that 11th fret on the G. And then he'll pull off that 11 to 9. So we have this. I'm sorry. Now from there, he's just going to go and join that 9 on the G with the 9 on the D. Take those 2 notes, and slide them down to the 7 on the A string and 6 on the G. And then back up to the 2 9s. And then you're going to end it with that same little kind of major 7th thing. And then we just go through the same thing again. And then ending it with that full major chord there at the end. And that same lick that we did before. And then back to the chorus. All right, so that's pretty much it for the track. It gets kind of intricate with those fills, I know, but it's really cool when you can kind of put it all together and have both guitar parts kind of working together. They both complement each other really, really well. All right, so I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.